Recently, I was just scrolling through Instagram Reels as usual, until this one video caught my attention. It was a video of a Korean girl who seemed 7 or 8 years old. She was in her school cafeteria and she was introducing what she had in her lunchbox to the camera. She had a bowl of white rice and a packet of seasoned seaweed. Then, with her tiny hands, she proudly described how to make a gimbap using the ingredients that she brought. That short video reminded me of the time when I went to school in the US. Back then, I was a second grader. And I still remember, to this day, that whenever my mom asked me what to pack for lunch, I always told her to pack sandwiches. It wasn't because I liked sandwiches, but for some reason, I was scared of bringing Korean food to school. I didn't want to be different, and I feared that kids would make fun of it. I also remember losing my name Yujin. Instead, I was called Jackie, which is my English name. One day, I asked my dad, "Why can't I use my real name?" And he replied that the school wanted me to use my English name during classes. During that short time in the US, I thought that was how I could fit in the society. I thought getting rid of my uniqueness and ignoring my cultural identity was the way to become normal, just like the other kids. After a few years, I moved to the United Arab Emirates in 2019. I was 12 years old, and this was my second time moving to a foreign country. Of course, this time my English was fluent, and I was even excited to live in a different country. But inside of me, I still had that deeply rooted fear that I would be peculiar. But this time, it was different. I was called Yujin instead of Jackie, and I wasn't the only one standing out. What surprised me the most was lunchtime. My Korean food wasn't smelly or weird anymore. Even more, my friends liked gimbap so much that I would bring an additional roll just for sharing. At school, there was nothing such as standing out. There were students from almost all around the world, which made being different not something to be ashamed of, but something to be proud of. After going through those two experiences in my life, I started to question the difference between them. The basis of the two experiences was the same. I was a Korean girl who moved to a different country. But what was it that varied those two experiences from each other so much? So let's compare the settings of the two experiences. First, as of 2021, the UAE population's 89% was foreigners, whereas the US population's only 13.6% was foreigners. Next, the school that I attended to in the UAE was an international school, whereas the school that I attended to in the US was a public school. Of course, this comparison may not be fair, considering the fact that UAE inevitably has an ethnically diverse population due to the nature of its small national population. And also, I am not trying to generalize everything, just by my own experiences. However, regardless of the comparison and everything else, it is undeniable that the students that I met in the UAE were more exposed to diversity than the students that I met in the US. For the kids without abundant exposure to diversity, my Korean food was fated to be something weird. But for the students who had been exposed to diversity throughout their whole lives, my Korean food couldn't be something weird. Rather, they will understand it as something special, as it brings them an opportunity to experience a different culture. Regardless of whether one has been exposed to diversity or not, people innately tend to lean toward those who have similarities with them. And that's why we like a certain person just because we enjoy the same rock band. And that's called having an in-group bias. And that is a tendency to favor one's group over others. If we think about the definition of in-group bias inversely, it can also mean that people naturally keep away from those who are different from them. And that is why ample and continuous exposure to diversity is so important. So then, how do we get exposed to diversity? Getting exposed to diversity sounds pretty hard and difficult to achieve. But actually, you can get exposed to diversity just by the tip of your fingers. The easiest way to do this is using the media. Using the media, you can get videos, posts, and stories from people that are on the opposite side of the globe. All you have to do is just get a little courage to check out that foreign Instagram account or try that new Netflix show that you cannot watch without subtitles. Then you might wonder, if it is this easy to get exposed to diversity, why aren't more people doing so? Well, we actually have an opponent here, and its name is the algorithm. The algorithm can be our friend in the sense that it saves us time of having to manually search for things that interest us. But that can do more harm than good. The algorithm creates a filter bubble, which is a little bubble that traps us with only the information that we like. So it's blocking our way to get exposed to diversity. And inside that little bubble, the information or idea that is on our side echoes continuously and makes us more biased towards our own argument. And that's called the echo chamber effect. So let's think about how we can fight off this thing called algorithm. It takes a bit of work, but it's a piece of cake, so don't worry. The key to this mission is to enhance your media literacy skills. Media literacy is the ability to analyze and access media content, as well as create, reflect, and take actions. In other words, it is the ability to critically take in information from the media. And this also means that we have to be the ones utilizing the media content and not the ones being manipulated by them. So now, I'll tell you the key to enhancing your media literacy skills. It is reading the news. The news is a perfect way to get stories that are happening all around the world. But these days, it is pretty hard to find news that's not biased. So that's why it is so important to read news from various perspectives. And one way to do that is to read news from different sources. For example, if you read from CNN today, then maybe tomorrow you can try reading from Fox News. Just by reading ideas that are different from yours, you are already stepping outside of your little bubble. And you're taking a huge leap towards diversity. And at last, you'll be able to enjoy and respect diversity and flourish within it. So, by taking these kind of small actions, you can get exposed to diversity just at the comfort of your home and without having to go abroad. So always go for the new food, go for the new song, and stay open-minded. Thank you.